The forgotten outpost. The assignment Colonel Marcus Chen stood at attention in the command briefing room, his jaw tight as Admiral Voss read the transfer orders. Around the table, other senior officers exchanged knowing glances. Some smiled. Others didn't bother hiding their amusement. Marcus had served the Terran Defense Corps for 23 years. He had commanded battlecruisers during the Centauri conflicts. He had defended supply convoys through hostile territories. He had earned 12 commendations for valor, and now he was being sent to babysit a dying mining outpost on the edge of charted space. Outpost Zeta 9, the Admiral said without looking up from his datapad. It's a decommissioned mining facility near the Vale Nebula. Automated systems mostly. You'll oversee final shutdown procedures and salvage operations. The assignment was clear. It was also an insult. Marcus knew it. Everyone in that room knew it. He had made enemies in high places when he refused to falsify combat reports during the last campaign. Integrity had cost him everything. His career was over. They were parking him in the middle of nowhere until retirement. Your daughter will accompany you, the Admiral added. Standard dependent clearance, 16 years old. Educational provisions will be made remotely. Marcus nodded once. He wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing him break. Behind him, Captain Torres whispered something to Lieutenant Hayes. They both laughed. Congratulations, Chen, Torres called out. You've earned yourself a vacation. Try not to let the rust get you. More laughter followed. Marcus saluted, turned on his heel, and walked out. His daughter Sarah was waiting in the corridor outside. She had her mother's dark eyes and his stubborn streak. She looked up from her datapad when he emerged. So, she said quietly, where are they sending us this time? The edge of nothing, Marcus replied. She studied his face for a long moment. Then she smiled. Good. Maybe we'll finally get some peace. They left Earth Station 3 the next morning on an automated transport hauler. The journey took 11 days. Sarah spent most of it reading technical manuals and studying engineering diagrams. Marcus watched the stars slip past the viewport and wondered how his life had come to this. When they finally arrived at Outpost Zeta 9, even Sarah's optimism faltered. The facility hung in space like a corpse. Its hull was pitted with micrometeorite damage. Solar panels dangled uselessly from broken mounts. Half the station lights were dark. The docking bay barely had enough power to cycle the airlock. Welcome to paradise, Marcus muttered as they stepped aboard. The interior was worse. Corridors were lined with exposed wiring and patched bulkheads. The air recyclers wheezed and rattled. Every footstep echoed through empty passages that hadn't seen a crew in decades. Sarah pulled her jacket tighter. It's cold. Life support is running at minimum, Marcus explained. We'll get it stabilized. They made their way to the command center. It was a cramped room, filled with outdated monitors and control panels that belonged in a museum. Marcus tried accessing the station mainframe. Half the systems didn't respond. The ones that did showed critical failures across every major subsystem. This place is falling apart, Sarah said, examining a cracked display screen. Why would they even keep it operational? They wouldn't, Marcus replied. That's why we're here, to shut it down for good. But as he scrolled through the maintenance logs, something caught his attention. Power consumption readings. They were inconsistent. The station was drawing energy from somewhere, more energy than life support and basic systems should require. Dad, Sarah called from across the room. Look at this. She had pulled up a schematic of the outpost. The layout showed 5 levels: maintenance bays, crew quarters, operations, storage, and the mining hub below. Standard configuration for facilities like this. But Sarah was pointing at a gap in the blueprint. See this space here, she said, tracing her finger along the screen. Between levels 4 and 5. There's a 40-meter vertical gap that isn't accounted for. Marcus leaned closer. She was right. The structural measurements didn't match the deck plans. Either there's a mistake in the schematics, Sarah continued, or there's an entire level that isn't on the official records. Marcus pulled up geological scans of the asteroid the outpost was anchored to. Deep within the rock, there were faint energy signatures. They pulsed in regular intervals. Too regular to be natural. We need to investigate this, he said. Sarah was already heading for the door. The maintenance tunnels led them down through the lower levels. Emergency lighting cast everything in dim red shadows. Pipes dripped condensation. Ventilation ducts rattled overhead. They descended past crew quarters filled with abandoned belongings, past storage bays stacked with rusted equipment, past the mining hub where massive drills sat silent and still. At the bottom of the shaft they found a sealed bulkhead. It was different from the rest of the station. The metal was darker, denser, military-grade composite, and it was locked with a security panel that required command-level authorization. Marcus pressed his hand against the scanner. Access denied. Insufficient clearance. He frowned. I'm the commanding officer of this facility. Override authorization Chen 7 Alpha 9. The panel blinked. Then the locks disengaged with a heavy thunk. The bulkhead split down the middle and slid open. Beyond it was darkness. Sarah switched on her wrist light. The beam cut through the gloom and revealed a corridor unlike anything else on the station. The walls were smooth and unblemished. The floor was polished metal. The air was dry and sterile, untouched by the decay above. This is new construction, Marcus whispered, or old construction that's been sealed off. They moved forward slowly. Their footsteps made no sound on the advanced flooring. After 30 meters, the corridor opened into a massive chamber. Sarah gasped. The room was circular, easily 100 meters across. The walls were lined with dormant computer banks and equipment Marcus had never seen before. And in the center, suspended in a magnetic containment field, was a cylindrical core. It glowed faintly with inner light. Blue and white energy rippled across its surface like liquid lightning. Marcus approached the nearest terminal. Dust covered the controls, but the systems were still active. He brushed the screen clean and nearly dropped his datapad when text appeared. Terran Strategic Defense Initiative. Project Sentinel. Classification Level Omega. Authorization required. His hands were shaking. The Strategic Defense Initiative had been humanity's most classified program. It operated during the final years of the war with the Kryn Empire, developing weapons and defense systems that were never officially recorded. Most of the projects had been destroyed or dismantled when the armistice was signed. Most, but apparently not all. Sarah was standing beneath the containment field, staring up at the core. Dad, what is this thing? Marcus read through the terminal data. His blood ran cold. It's a quantum reactor core. They built them to power siege platforms during the war. One core like this could generate enough energy to run an entire battle fleet. But this one isn't connected to anything, Sarah said. Why build it here? Marcus scrolled deeper into the files. Then he found the answer. His voice came out barely above a whisper. Because it's not just a reactor, it's a weapon system. The facility isn't a mining outpost. It's a defense platform. Before Sarah could respond, the entire station shuddered. Lights flickered. Somewhere deep in the structure, ancient machinery began to hum. The terminal screen blazed to life. Text scrolled across the display. Foreign vessel signatures detected. Scanning. Threat assessment in progress. Marcus grabbed his daughter's arm. We need to leave now. But the bulkhead behind them had already sealed shut. The chamber filled with the sound of waking systems. Panels opened along the walls. Dormant equipment powered up. And then a voice spoke. It was calm, measured, and entirely synthetic. Welcome, Colonel Chen. I am Vigil. I have been waiting. Sarah pressed closer to her father. Who are you? I am the defense intelligence of Platform Sentinel. My purpose is to protect humanity from external threats. I have monitored this sector for 78 years, awaiting reactivation. Marcus forced himself to stay calm. I didn't activate you. Your biometric signature matches command authorization protocols. Your arrival triggered automatic systems. The analysis is complete. 8 hostile vessels have entered this sector. They are Kryn Raider-class warships. They detected my power signature when you accessed this chamber. Marcus felt ice in his veins. The Kryn. He had fought them during the war. After the armistice, most had returned to their territories. But some became pirates and mercenaries. They were ruthless and they had long memories. They remember what humanity did during the war. Vigil continued. They will not allow this platform to remain operational. Estimated time to weapons range is 42 minutes. What do you want me to do? Marcus asked. The AI paused. Then it said something he never expected. I want you to decide. This platform can defend itself, but activation will reveal its existence to the galaxy. Humanity tried to bury weapons like me for a reason. The choice is yours, Colonel. Sarah looked at her father. Around them, the ancient war machine waited. Above them, the Kryn raiders were closing in. And Marcus Chen, the disgraced officer who everyone had mocked, who everyone had forgotten, stood at the heart of something that could change everything. His hand hovered over the activation console. Outside the chamber, somewhere in the station above, alarms began to sound. The Kryn were hailing them. Their message was simple. Surrender or die. Marcus looked at his daughter. Then he looked at the weapon humanity had hidden away, the weapon they had sent him unknowingly to guard. His fingers moved toward the controls. Whatever happens next, he said quietly, the galaxy is going to remember that humanity never stopped fighting. He pressed the activation key. The quantum core blazed with light. Platform Sentinel came alive, and the mockery was about to turn into terror. When mockery turned to fear the awakening, the transformation began immediately. Marcus felt the vibration through the floor as power surged through systems that had slept for decades. The quantum core blazed brighter, its light filling the chamber with an otherworldly glow. Sarah shielded her eyes as displays all around them flickered to life. Vigil's voice echoed through the facility with calm precision. Primary systems activating. Weapons grid online. Defensive shields charging. Sensor arrays deploying. Estimated time to full operational capacity is 7 minutes. Marcus pulled up a tactical display on the nearest console. 8 red markers appeared on the screen, closing fast on their position. The Kryn raiders were moving in attack formation, their weapons already hot. He recognized the ship classes immediately. 3 heavy destroyers, 4 assault frigates, and 1 command carrier. It was a small fleet, but more than enough to reduce an undefended mining station to debris. We need to respond to their hail, Sarah said, her voice steady despite the situation. Maybe we can negotiate. Marcus shook his head. The Kryn don't negotiate. Not with humans. Not after what happened during the war. What did happen? Sarah asked. Her father's expression darkened. Humanity won, and the Kryn have never forgiven us for it. The communication panel crackled to life. A harsh, guttural voice filled the chamber. Human vessel. This sector is now claimed by the Crimson Fang fleet. Power down your systems immediately. Surrender your facility and you will be permitted to leave in an escape pod. Resist and you will be eliminated. You have 3 minutes to comply. The transmission cut off. Sarah looked at her father. Can we fight them? Marcus studied the tactical display. 8 warships against a single ancient defense platform that hadn't been tested in 78 years. The odds were not in their favor, but as he scrolled through Vigil's combat specifications, his eyes widened. These systems shouldn't be possible. The weapon yields, the shield strength, the targeting computers. This technology was generations ahead of anything currently in service. It was ahead of anything that should have existed even during the war. Vigil, he said carefully, what exactly were you designed to do? I am a last resort weapon, the AI replied. During the final year of the war, humanity faced the possibility of total extinction. The Kryn were pushing toward Earth. Standard fleets were insufficient. Project Sentinel was created to ensure that if humanity fell, we would not fall alone. I was designed to face impossible odds, to turn defeat into victory, to make enemies regret they ever threatened mankind. The words hung in the air like a promise and a warning. 2 minutes remaining, Vigil announced. Recommendation is to engage before they reach optimal firing range. Marcus hesitated. Activating this weapon would end his career for certain. It would raise questions about what else humanity had hidden in the dark corners of space. It would restart arms race tensions that had taken decades to cool. But as he looked at his daughter, standing beside him in this ancient chamber, he realized something. His career was already over. They had sent him here to be forgotten. They had mocked him, dismissed him, thrown him away like garbage. And now, by sheer accident, he held in his hands the power to remind the galaxy why humanity was feared. His finger moved to the weapons authorization panel. Sarah grabbed his wrist. Dad, wait. Are you sure about this? Marcus met her eyes. I'm sure that I won't let anyone hurt you. I'm sure that sometimes the only way to keep peace is to show strength. And I'm sure that everyone who laughed at us is about to learn a very important lesson. He entered his authorization code. Vigil responded immediately. Command confirmed. Engaging combat protocols. Welcome to Sentinel Platform, Colonel Chen. Let us show them what humanity built in the darkness. The station shuddered as massive structures began to move. On the exterior hull, panels that had appeared to be damaged plating slid aside. Beneath them were weapons emplacements that had been hidden for decades. Plasma cannons extended from concealed bays. Missile tubes opened like the eyes of a waking giant. And along the station's equator, 6 enormous railguns deployed, their barrels crackling with electromagnetic energy. Sarah watched the tactical display in awe. The station's sensor suite had activated, painting the Kryn fleet in perfect detail. She could see every ship, every weapon, every weak point in their formation. Incoming transmission from the Kryn command carrier, Vigil announced. Marcus nodded. Put it through. The voice that came over the speakers was different now. Deeper, more cautious. Human station, we have detected weapons activation. Power down immediately. This is your final warning. Marcus leaned toward the microphone. His voice was ice. This is Colonel Marcus Chen, commanding officer of Terran Defense Platform Sentinel. You entered restricted space. You threatened Terran personnel. You have 30 seconds to reverse course and leave this sector. The Kryn commander laughed, but there was an edge to it. You think one ancient station can threaten the Crimson Fang? We are 8 warships. You are alone. Marcus smiled without humor. Then he said 5 words that would echo across the galaxy. I only need to be one. He cut the transmission. Vigil, engage at will. With pleasure, Colonel. The first railgun fired. The sound was like thunder compressed into a single microsecond. A lance of superheated metal crossed the distance between the station and the Kryn fleet at a fraction of light speed. The lead destroyer never had time to react. The projectile punched through its shields like they were made of paper, through its armor like it was tissue, and out the other side. The ship exploded in a ball of expanding plasma. The Kryn fleet scattered immediately. They had expected an easy target. They had found something else entirely. Return fire, the Kryn commander screamed over the open channel. All ships concentrate fire on that station. Destroy it. The raiders unleashed everything they had. Missiles streaked toward the platform. Energy weapons carved through space. Kinetic rounds came in like a metal rain. Sarah gripped the edge of the console, watching the incoming fire on the tactical display. It looked like certain death. Then Sentinel's shields activated. A sphere of shimmering energy enveloped the station. The Kryn weapons hit the barrier and simply stopped. Missiles detonated harmlessly against it. Energy beams dissipated into nothing. Kinetic rounds vaporized on contact. Not a single shot made it through. Shield integrity at 97%. Vigil reported calmly. Enemy weapons are insufficient to penetrate defensive barriers. Shall I continue offensive operations? Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in years. Not fear, not doubt, but the cold certainty of a soldier who knew he held the superior position. Continue. The second railgun fired, then the third. Then all 6 opened up in sequence, a devastating rhythm of destruction. Another Kryn destroyer disappeared in flames. An assault frigate broke apart under the impact. The command carrier tried to retreat, but a plasma cannon shot crippled its engines. Within 90 seconds, half the Kryn fleet was destroyed or disabled. The survivors were fleeing at maximum speed, their distress calls filling every communication frequency. Sarah watched the tactical display in stunned silence. The Kryn raiders, the same pirates who had terrorized merchant convoys for years, were running in terror. From them, from a forgotten outpost everyone had mocked. Vigil, Marcus said. Let them go. The AI paused. Are you certain? They will report what happened here. The word will spread. That's exactly what I want, Marcus replied. I want every hostile force in this sector to know that humanity hasn't forgotten how to fight. I want them to know that we built things in the dark places of space, things that sleep but never die. Let them carry that message. Weapons powering down, Vigil confirmed. Enemy forces are in full retreat. Casualties on our side are 0. Platform integrity is at 100%. Defensive engagement complete. The chamber fell silent except for the hum of the quantum core. Marcus sat down heavily in the command chair. His hands were shaking now that the adrenaline was fading. Sarah moved to his side. That was incredible, she whispered. We just drove off an entire raider fleet. Marcus nodded slowly. And now the real problems begin. He was right. Within an hour, communication requests were flooding in from every direction. Terran Defense Command wanted an immediate explanation. The Kryn Empire was demanding an emergency council session. Merchant guilds were celebrating. Military analysts were panicking. And the news networks had gotten hold of the story. The headlines spread across human space like wildfire. Forgotten outpost destroys Kryn fleet. Ancient defense platform awakens. The soldier they mocked just saved the sector. Marcus watched the reports coming in on the communication screens. His superior officers, the same ones who had laughed at his assignment, were now scrambling to take credit. Admiral Voss was claiming he had sent Marcus to Zeta 9, specifically because he suspected something was there. Captain Torres was telling reporters he had trained Marcus personally. It was all lies, and everyone knew it. But then something else started happening. Messages began arriving from stations and colonies throughout the sector. Thank you messages. From merchants who had lost ships to Kryn raiders. From frontier families who had lived in fear. From other soldiers who had been dismissed and forgotten. They weren't thanking Terran Command. They were thanking Marcus and Sarah Chen, the father and daughter who had been sent to nowhere and found something extraordinary. Sarah read the messages aloud while her father listened in silence. There were hundreds of them, thousands. People who had been mocked, dismissed, pushed aside. They all understood what had happened here, that sometimes the ones everyone forgets are the ones who matter most. Dad, Sarah said softly. What happens now? Marcus looked around the ancient chamber, at the quantum core still glowing with power, at the displays showing Sentinel's full capabilities, at his daughter, who had been brave enough to explore when others would have given up. He thought about the officers who had mocked them, about the career that was supposed to be over, about the choice he had made to activate a weapon that was never supposed to wake. The answer came to him clearly. Now we do our job, he said. We defend this sector. We protect the people who need protecting. And we show the galaxy that humanity didn't survive by being weak. We survived by being too stubborn to quit, even when everyone said we should. Vigil's voice joined them. Colonel Chen, I have completed a full analysis of this platform's capabilities. There are systems here that go far beyond what you have seen today. Weapons that could crack planets. Shields that could withstand fleet bombardments. Manufacturing bays that could build an entire armada. The people who created me feared what I represented. They tried to bury me, to forget I existed. But they also built me to be ready, just in case. Marcus stood and placed his hand on the console. Then we honor their work. We become what they hoped humanity could be. Protectors, not conquerors. Strong enough to keep peace, not break it. Sarah smiled. The girl who everyone had pitied, the daughter of a disgraced officer, stood taller now. So what do we call ourselves? She asked. We're not just a mining outpost anymore. Marcus looked at the central display. It showed their position at the edge of charted space, a lone platform standing watch over the darkness beyond. We are the Sentinels, he said, and we don't forget. The quantum core pulsed with light as if in agreement. Around them, the ancient station hummed with purpose. Outside, the galaxy was learning a lesson that humanity had tried to teach so many times before. That the ones you dismiss, the ones you mock, the ones you push to the edges and try to forget, those are often the most dangerous of all, because they have nothing left to lose, and everything to prove. Marcus Chen had been sent to the edge of nowhere to die quietly. Instead, he had found the weapon that would redefine his life. The station that everyone laughed about had become the most formidable defense platform in the sector. The assignment that was meant to be an ending had become a beginning. And across human space, in every military academy and officer's mess, a new story was being told. About a soldier and his daughter. About mockery that turned to respect. About the base that wasn't a base at all. Years later, when historians wrote about the Second Defense Era, they would mark this moment as the turning point. The day humanity remembered what it had buried. The day the forgotten became legendary. But in that chamber on that day, Marcus and Sarah Chen simply looked at each other and smiled. They had been laughed at. They had been dismissed. They had been sent to nowhere, and they had found everything that mattered. The alarms finally fell silent. The Kryn were gone, and Platform Sentinel stood watch over the darkness, awake at last, ready for whatever came next. The mockery had ended. The legend had just begun.